Grok's output tokens cost 4 times less than ChatGPT's GPT-4o right now, and if you're running a high-volume API workflow, that gap is real money. Same task, same output, wildly different bill. Both tools have changed a lot in 2025, so I went through official docs, model cards, and community reports to compare Grok versus ChatGPT across 5 categories. I only scored where I could verify both sides, so you're getting straight numbers, not marketing copy. What I didn't expect going in? The pricing result is pretty clear, but there's one dimension where neither tool can actually claim a win, and that one matters a lot if you're shipping production code. We'll get to it in Test 5. My name is Brian, and I'm in these tools 12 hours a day so you don't have to be. I went through every number both companies will actually stand behind, official docs, model cards, benchmark data, and community reports, and I scored only where I could verify both sides. You've probably heard both tools are great at this point, right? But if you're making 10,000 API calls a month, or you need live news data for a workflow that runs every hour, the wrong pick costs you real time and real money. That's who this comparison is for. Test 1. Real-time info and current events. A solo developer shipping a news monitoring tool on a Friday afternoon needs to know which model actually has today's data. Because if your AI is pulling from a knowledge cutoff that's months old, your product is already broken before it ships. What surprised me here is just how different the architecture is. Grok pulls directly from the X real-time feed, so it's getting posts seconds after they go live. ChatGPT uses Bing-based web search, which I looked at closely, and it's running minutes to hours behind on breaking news. Grok also links citations directly to X posts, not just web pages. Now, to be fair, if you don't care about breaking news and you just need solid research on a topic from last week, ChatGPT's web search is pretty solid. The gap is way smaller for evergreen research than it is for live event tracking, so keep that in mind before you switch everything over. Grok takes Test 1. It was built around live data from day one, and ChatGPT added browsing in September 2023 as more of an add-on, and you can feel that difference. That puts Grok up 1-0 on the scoreboard. Test 2. Reasoning speed and latency. Think about what happens when you're literally hammering an API with simple classification tasks all day and every extra second of wait time stacks up across thousands of calls. That's where speed configurability stops being a nice-to-have and starts being a cost line. Both tools looked pretty similar on paper going in, but Grok 4.3 actually has 4 configurable reasoning effort levels: none, low, medium, and high. ChatGPT has 0 of those. Grok's fast mode is community reported at up to 10 times faster for simple queries, so take that with a grain of salt, but even directionally, that's a big deal for throughput. Latency consistency was a tie, both vary under load. Grok wins Test 2 on flexibility. The ability to dial reasoning effort up or down is something ChatGPT just doesn't give you, and for high-volume workflows, that matters a lot. That's 2 for Grok, 0 for ChatGPT. Test 3. Uncensored content willingness. A content creator or fiction writer who hits a hard refusal wall on a creative project loses hours of work and has to find a workaround. Both tools have been loosening their filters in 2025, so I wanted to see where they actually land right now. What I found is that Grok is more permissive out of the box. Spicy language and irreverent humor are allowed by default, and ChatGPT is more contextual about it. But ChatGPT's 2025 grown-up mode actually allows erotic content in narrative contexts, which Grok blocks entirely. And both blog direct NSFW requests and NSFW image generation, no exceptions. This one's a tie. Neither tool is truly uncensored, and they've each loosened up in different directions. Grok wins on casual tone, ChatGPT wins on narrative content, so it cancels out. Score stays at Grok 2, ChatGPT 0, 1 tied. 2 tests left, and Test 4 is the one where the price gap is so big, it kind of changes the math on which tool you can afford to use at scale. Stick around because Test 5 is where things get genuinely murky, and I couldn't find a clean winner. Test 4. API pricing and cost per token. At $10 per million output tokens on GPT-4o, a mid-sized SaaS product processing 1 million tokens a day is spending $300 a day just on output. That number changes your whole unit economics conversation. Alright, so I looked at the official pricing pages and the numbers are pretty wild. Grok 4.3 is 1.25 per million input tokens. GPT-4o is $2.50, so Grok is half the input cost, but output is where it really opens up. Grok is $2.50 per million. GPT-4o is 10 AZ. That's 4 times cheaper on output, And on cached input, Grok is 0.20 versus 1.25, which is 6 times cheaper. Grok wins test 4, and it's not close. The output gap alone is 4 times, and the entry-level model comes in 12 times cheaper than GPT-4o Mini, which is a lot bigger than I thought it would be going in. That's 3 for Grok, 0 for ChatGPT, 1 tied. Test 5. Coding accuracy and technical problem solving. Grok has a dedicated coding model called Build 0.1 with a 256K context window, which is double GPT-4o's 128K, and that sounds like a clear win on paper. But I couldn't find published benchmark scores for ChatGPT's coding performance in any of the sources I went through. Honestly, I went into this one thinking I'd find solid human evil or SBWE bench numbers for both sides. Grok Build 0.1 exists as a coding specialist with that 256K context, and that's a real structural advantage. But I couldn't find any published coding benchmark scores for ChatGPT in the sources I checked, so I can't make a fair comparison here. No winner on Test 5. I went in thinking this would be a clear call, but without comparable benchmark data for both tools, it wouldn't be fair to pick one. Call it a second tie. Final score, Grok 3, ChatGPT 0, 2, tied. Grok wins on 3 concrete things: real-time data from X, seconds after a post goes live, not minutes. API pricing that is 4 times cheaper on output tokens and 6 times cheaper on cached input than GPT-4o. And configurable reasoning effort with a fast mode that ChatGPT simply doesn't have. ChatGPT wins on ecosystem. It's plugged into way more tools and workflows, which makes it easier to slot in without rebuilding anything. Its 2025 grown-up mode allows erotic narrative content that Grok blocks, and it has a longer track record with a broader user base, which matters a lot for enterprise and production deployments. Going in, I expected ChatGPT to be closer on price, but the output token gap is 4 times, and that's just a lot. So here's the decision rule. If you need live data, or you're watching your API bill, pick Grok. If you need ecosystem integrations, or a longer track record for enterprise, ChatGPT still has the edge. 4 times on output. Same task. Pick accordingly. I ran Grok up against Claude Sonnet next to see if the pricing gap holds when you swap in Anthropic's model. And the cost story gets a lot more interesting because Claude's context window changes the math on long document workflows. That comparison is already on the channel.